Was Jesus Christ crucified on top of a pyramid underneath a flying saucer? Now that may sound completely out of skew with the way that you've been brought up to think the crucifixion happened, but there seems to be evidence to suggest that this may actually be the case. For instance, old paintings such as this one here to my right, here behind me, it shows Jesus Christ with two flying objects, one on each side of him. Also this painting too, that shows the same thing.
There's also a disc shown here behind Jesus Christ's head.
Now in our series Nibiru Palace Part 7, we showed you how the crown of thorns which was placed on Jesus Christ's head is not just a crown of thorns, it is a disc with horns. It's a horned disc, and a horned disc is another name for a flying saucer. It's called a winged disc, a horn disc. It's now known as a UFO as well, and as a flying disc. In Mediterranean countries it's also known as a light disc. But the horned disc is the name we're going to use here, and that horned disc was placed on Jesus Christ's head to mock Jesus, to harm Jesus, but also to depict that this flying saucer was used to defeat Jesus in some way. It is the mark of the beast. So the pyramid and the flying disc in all of its forms, including the horned disc, is the mark of the beast. Now, where would it be more appropriate for monsters like the Nephilim and the Tares, these people are the Antichrist, the Satans of this earth? Where would it be more appropriate in their logic to kill Jesus than on top of a pyramid underneath a flying saucer with a horned disc on his head?
In the book of Enoch it says that there were 6 mountains made of precious materials with fire blazing above them,
and that these would melt like wax before the flame when the Lord returned. So obviously these were objects of hatred from God. This is something that God despises, an abomination, and these appear to be the pyramids. And the pyramid with the floating top, the all-seeing eye, is the same thing. It's the mark of the beast. The top is flying. It's a side view cutaway of a winged disc. Now there's other evidence about concerning this as well. If you look at crucifixes, you'll see that they are on, a lot of them are on small pyramids. Also the flag of Ohio. Now that not only has a pyramid on it with a cross on top of it, but also has a depiction of the red planet Nibiru. So is it feasible then that Jesus Christ was in fact crucified on top of a pyramid? Well, the evidence seems to suggest that this just might be the case.
Let's take a close look at the standard depiction of Christ crucified as depicted in churches, etc. all over the world. Here are just 3 random examples, but they all have one thing in common. They all show Christ crucified with a horned disc or a crown of thorns on his head. They all have long hair, and they all have a pyramid roof above Jesus Christ. Plus they all have pillars in one form or another. But there's much more to this once you take a closer look. The roof on this version is an Illuminati pyramid with an all-seeing eye. The crown of thorns on this version is shaped as 5 individual horned circle discs, which also look like 6s. The light rays from the flying disc above what is supposed to be Jesus Christ's head radiate underneath his arms, giving the appearance of wings. And the posture he is crucified in is the same posture struck by Ishtar, the goddess of the night. Ishtar is in fact a Nephilim and not a goddess of any description at all. This pose by Ishtar and by what is supposed to be Jesus Christ on the cross is in fact a cryptography of the letter X. And she is holding discs with horns in her hands, horned discs. And Jesus Christ also has horns, or if you prefer, spikes driven through his hands and feet. The flying disc above his head depicts horns with its rays. It is also therefore a horned disc. On either side of Ishtar there are owls, the silent, invisible killers of the night. On either side of this statue there appear to be 3 normal people, 2 women and 1 man, and the man has long hair. But these are no ordinary people. These 3 people are in fact owls. In other words, Nephilim tares and Freemasons working in secrecy amongst us. Their hands are making the sign of the Masonic M. And the fingers on one of the hands appears to have been deliberately broken to hide a more obvious Masonic hand signal. You can tell that the removal of the fingers was deliberate because there are no jagged edges. This appears to have been done by a grinding machine of some sort. And this figure here is making a very interesting signal with her arms, hands and fingers. She is making the sign of the Illuminati pyramid with the floating top. The loincloth garment on the Christ figure is arranged as a cobra with a flared neck and an eye for a head. There are 5 Masonic hand signals here and 1 Masonic foot signal. The feet of the Christ figure are resting on a pyramid. The feet are set as 1 foot pressing upon another. This is a Masonic signal. The book of Proverbs 6:12 to 15. A scoundrel and villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth, who winks with his eye, signals with his feet, and motions with his fingers, who plots evil with deceit in his heart. He always stirs up dissension. Therefore disaster will overtake him in an instant. He will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. Ishtar is depicted as being half bird, and there is an egg at the bottom of this statue. And finally, the banner above the Christ figure's head is made in the form of a scroll, so it has a curl on each corner, a 6, that's 4 sixes. So this entire depiction consists of a satanic blasphemy and parody of the Lord Jesus Christ, involving Ishtar the Nephilim, Freemasons, tares and other Nephilim symbology of pyramids and horned discs. This is not a holy image. It is a very clever pyramid cryptography. Here is how it works. The pyramid roof has a cross on top. It is therefore a pyramid which stands on the ground with a cross on top. The pillars are depicted as being upside down. They therefore go on top. The image pertaining to be Christ is in a mirror stance, the same as Ishtar. This stance forms the letter X. The sun disk at the top of the pyramid goes above the cross. This is now a full depiction of a pyramid with landing pad pillars, a cross on top, an X depicting swirling thrust, and a flying horned disc above. It is the mark of the beast. The word Easter is actually Ishtar. So when you wish someone a happy Easter, you're wishing them a happy Ishtar. You're wishing happiness on a Nephilim abomination who dares to call herself a goddess. The so-called Easter egg is actually an Ishtar egg, and this is what you're giving to each other during these holidays. The X stance of Ishtar and the false Christ figure both match perfectly with the Freemasons logo.